What's good? What's good? I'm back. Yours truly, one and only Paul Pickett, host of the Paul Pickett Podcast, aka Triple P, aka the Common Sense Podcast, your source for music, sports, politics, world events, and much, much more. Sun's starting to come out, starting to beam on my face, as you can see. I want to react to a video of the riots going on in France. That started over a traffic stop with a police killing a 17-year-old Muslim kid. And before we do that, though, I want to give you a word from promopalace.biz. So we're going to pull up an ad and play the ad right now. Let's get into it.
Marketing and promotion? Then look no further than Promo Palace LLC, your one-stop shop for all music promotion services. Services include Spotify playlist pitching, YouTube video promotion, record pool promotion, blog placements, radio airplay promotion, SoundCloud promotion, and much more. With over 2,000 customers and over 10 years of experience in online promotion, Promo Palace LLC is a company you can trust. For more info, please go to promopalace.biz. See you there.
That's right. You heard a beautiful lady. You see the website scrolling below on the ticker. Get marketing promotions at promopalace.biz, your one-stop shop to promote your music, product, brand, or service. You can also email promopalace1@gmail.com. That's promopalace, the number one, not spelled out, but the actual number one, at gmail.com. Promopalace1@gmail.com. All right, let's get into it. France having riots. And this is the Black conservative perspective, if I'm not mistaken. We're about to pull up Mr. Greg Foreman. Yep.
Firsthand what the natural conclusion or end goal of diversity, equity, and inclusion is, which is chaos, because that is currently what is happening in this country. Okay, as these riots should be probably one of the biggest news stories in the world. I guess it is, but who knows, with the lack of coverage that we're seeing here in the media, specifically in the United States, you wouldn't think that it is, okay? But it really is insane, right? The footage that is being released of rioters who are basically tearing the country apart over the killing of a 17-year-old Arab boy during a traffic stop by French police, who have been accused on numerous occasions of being racist. Okay, does this not sound familiar? Right? Does this not sound like the story that we hear all the time in the United States to justify these riots? Well, yeah, it seems that we have imported that into France. Take a look.
Overseas now. Tonight, French President Emmanuel Macron urged parents to keep their children off the streets before a fourth night of protests sparked by a deadly police shooting. CBS's Elaine Cobb is in Paris.
Fireworks turned into weapons as protesters launched them at riot police and buildings across France. Cars were torched and firefighters responded to some 6,000 fires over the last 2 nights. 45,000 police officers are on the streets. The government has deployed armoured vehicles to quell riots. Many local authorities have limited public transport services and imposed curfews. The protesters accuse the police of racism and excessive force after 17-year-old Nael, of Algerian-Moroccan descent, was shot dead at close range during a traffic stop Tuesday morning. The officer who fired the fatal shot has been placed under formal investigation for murder. A third of the 900 people arrested last night were under 18, some as young as 12. It's the responsibility of the parents to keep their children at home, said President Emmanuel Macron. Nael's mother, who led a march in his memory Thursday, will bury her son tomorrow, amid fears of renewed violence then and through the weekend. Elaine Cobb, CBS News, Paris.
Yeah, so France has gone full BLM, right? We've imported BLM into France, while at the same time France is importing a massive amount of migrants into their country, a lot of whom come from these North African Middle Eastern countries. A lot of them are Muslim. Okay, and France's Muslim population is at least 10% of the country. And it seems to be growing, which has created a whole lot of tensions within the country, as there are people who just are not that okay with what is happening in France in regards to immigration. And I think that these types of riots and protests that we're seeing is kind of evidence and proof that, hey, you know what? Maybe we might want to slow down here on the assimilation, right? Maybe this experiment.
Let me chime in real quick. A lot of this does sound familiar. Even like bringing in a tons of immigrants. But see, France has also always been like they were the only country that pretty much helped us during the Revolutionary War. They've always been somewhat buddy with US, which probably means they probably take a lot of our lead and copy a lot of what we do and follow a lot of what we do. Bonjour, we. So yeah, it doesn't shock me. And when I think of France, I don't really think of a tough country. I think of a very soft, weak country. I think of a country that you can more likely walk over. I mean, think about it. Like we had to get in the Vietnam War because of France. We pretty much had to get in World War II because of France. You know, that's the thing. Like ever since France helped us out in the Revolutionary War, it's always been this favor for a favor. Like we had to come to their rescue since they came to ours, even though they pretty much came to our rescue pretty late. They were pretty slow on the draw and doing it. But yeah, that's France is they want to be like America so bad, and they're so buddy with America so bad that I'm not really shocked at this. This doesn't surprise me that France would be just like America when it comes to a lot of these politics and stuff and these issues.
May not be working out in our best interest, because again, these people have not stopped. And what we're saying here, some of the images, some of the video is more disturbing, is more messed up than what we saw during the BLM riots. I mean,
Yeah,
BLM
this
riots
is
kind of
worse.
look like child
This is
play
worse.
compared to what these people are
Yeah.
doing in France. Some of this stuff is insane, bro. I mean, they were firebombing police stations, setting whole buses on fire. I mean, stealing people's cars and putting them on fire. I mean, I've seen them allegedly attacking people. Okay, and you know, it's crazy, man. It's insane. Like it's insanity, right? It looked like a war zone, right? France is like a third world country. So let's actually take more look at some
It
of
does.
the
It
videos
looks
that
like a war
are
zone.
going around here.
What the fuck?
Bro, they're driving cars into stores, dog. What is going on? Bro.
All right, let me stop real quick. This is when the shit really gets idiotic. This is when it's no longer about you trying to get justice. Like, what is you driving a car into a building like that? What does that have to do with you getting justice? How is that going to get you justice? Because it doesn't. It doesn't get you justice. It has nothing to do with getting you justice. I think at some point it gets to the point where it's no longer about the agenda of getting justice. And once you just start, I mean, he's right. This looks like a third world country. This looks like a war zone. This is just going to lead to more violence, more destruction. I don't know why these people think fighting fire with fire is always the answer. First of all, you know, fighting fire with fire is a metaphor. You can't fight fire with fire. You got to fight fire with water and sand and extinguishers. I don't know why people think, causing more violence will lead to less violence. Why do people think that? Why do people actually think causing more violence and more destruction actually leads to less violence and destruction? There has to be a better way to go about it. None of these ways have ever worked. They've never worked. Just going and shouting in the streets and blocking the streets from average civilians just trying to get to work and take care of their responsibilities, that doesn't work. That causes more problems. Just running cars into buildings and burning down buildings and burning down cars. Well, that doesn't work because the idea is that people think that if they go do this, oh, they'll listen now. No, they're not. No, they're just going to. This is going to lead to martial law. That's all it leads to. This stuff, it doesn't lead to more justice. It leads to less. There has to be a way that people have not thought of to go about this. And I guarantee there's a way that people have not thought of to go about this. But simply having a hissy fit and tearing everything up and destroying everything, clearly we've seen it doesn't get the job done. All it does is lead to more money having to be spent on rebuilding and fixing all this stuff, which is less money going to the problem. I repeat, it's just more money. They're just gonna have to spend all this money fixing all this stuff, and repairing all this destruction, which means just less money that goes to the problem. Because when you create more problems out of a problem, the money doesn't go to fixing the problems. The money goes to everything you destroyed by creating the problems. So yeah, this is wild. This is crazy.
Wow.
Howard.
You're insane.
How is you jumping on a car and breaking a car and bashing in a car? How is that going to get you justice? Can someone please explain to me? I know what they're thinking. Oh, somebody will listen if you start acting like this is why people bring in stereotypes. And this is why I try to tell people, like, they act like we are not animals no more. They act like we're different than all the mammals out there, that we're different than every other animal out there. And it clearly shows you that we just go back to our animalistic natures. Because this is how animals would act. As far as society goes, this is how animals would act. I mean, they're just, it's like kill or be killed right now, almost. Destroy or be destroyed. Yeah, I just don't see how any of this leads to a solution whatsoever. I don't see how this leads to getting justice. I don't see how it does. I really don't.
I mean, this looks like a third world country, bro.
Yeah.
France has imported this.
Abusé. Regarde.
The Muslim woman stealing.
Yeah, here's another one. How does you stealing this stuff? How is that Get justice. How does that lead to justice? How is that the solution for justice? How is committing more crimes like these are just double standards. That's all they are. They're just double standards. They're hypocrisies. Like, you can't be a hypocrite and expect justice. You can't be hypocritical in your journey for justice, or your path for justice, or your fight for justice, or march for justice. Once you start committing crimes and doing illegal things, it's no justice no more. It's just a double standard. And this is crazy. See a Muslim woman doing this. She's definitely not practicing her faith too well.
Stealing stuff, right?
Yeah,
Is this reparations, dog? Right?
Must
What's
be.
the argument for this? Okay, because in the U.S. they told us this is reparations.
Yeah, it's reparations.
What's the argument for this one right here? I'm not sure. Right? Somebody tell me what's the argument. I guess you could say, I don't know, France has been causing havoc or has been responsible for some of the messed up stuff that's been happening in North Africa, okay, and in the Middle East. Maybe you.
Yeah, but what is you getting reparations have to do with police misconduct or police brutality or police injustice? What does that have to do with it? You know how? Let me tell you how much it has to do. Reparations has to do with police injustice and police brutality. Zero. It's two different matters. It's apples and oranges. It's probably more like apples and pineapples, to be honest with you. It's apple. You're comparing apples to pineapples now. Let's keep it moving.
You can say that, right? French colonialism. Maybe this is reparations for that. Who knows?
Who knows?
And what's crazy to me, what's funny is that all the woke brands suffer. Apple, Nike, like all these brands, again, they get robbed.
They get what they deserve. They get what they deserve. Once again, what does going in a Apple store and stealing all the devices out of there have to do with police injustice, police brutality, police misconduct? What does that have to do with getting justice for that? You want to know how much it has to do with it? Zero. Nada. Zilch. Damn, look at that.
Yeah, so as you guys can see here,
They look like a third world country.
Right?
Yeah.
This is a war zone, okay? And I've actually been to France. I've been to a couple cities. I've been to Paris. I've been to Bordeaux.
Damn, look at that. Look at that.
France is it's an okay country. It's not my favorite country, honestly. I'm not a big fan of France, to be quite honest with you. But I hate to see this happen to this country, right? I hate to see this happen, even though I'm not a huge fan of France. But this is nuts, man. It really is. But again, this is what happens, in my opinion, when you have maybe too much diversity and inclusion that happen a little bit too fast, right? You get stuff like this, okay? And again, you have the woke powers that be, the global powers that be, that embrace BLM, that told the world watch, as the woke revolutionaries, okay, the agents of chaos, the young scholars of the United States of America, tore up this country, right? Caused billions and billions of dollars in damage. And they said, hey, you know what? We need to do the same thing, right? Anytime we feel like there's racism or acts of racism being committed, and
let me chime in real quick. What is this? I gotta look this up. What is this young scholars shit? I ain't calling nobody young scholars that go into stores and just steal everything or start riots or doing drive-by shootings or any. Hell no, I'm not calling you, young scholars. And BLM in my lifetime, in my lifetime, I've never seen an organization as divisive as BLM. BLM is completely divided this country. It's completely divided this country. It shouldn't even be called Black Lives Matter because they only care about black female lives. They don't even care about black male lives whatsoever. They don't care about black families' structures. They don't care about black heterosexuals. BLM is a some Black Lives Matter movement. That's what it is. Because they only care about some. This idea that BLM cares about all black lives is complete horseshit. It's complete bullshit. It's completely nonsense. It's bogus. It's make-believe, made-up, imaginary bullshit. It is. It is. It's been more divisive than any movement or organization I've ever seen in my lifetime. I mean, the KKK hasn't been this divisive in my lifetime. Because in my lifetime, I haven't seen the KKK out there like marching in the streets constantly on mainstream media and stuff like that. I ain't seen a bunch of people wearing the KKK shirts. None of that. And yeah, it's been the most divisive organization and movement in America in my lifetime. It really has. And only to come to find out that all the people that were out here, going, out there, screaming Black Lives Matter, wearing the t-shirts and walking with the organization, only to come to find out that the organization really doesn't care about them. They only care about mainly homosexual blacks or feminist blacks or black women. They don't care about heterosexual black men. That's the two worst things you could be right now on the planet is a straight white male and a straight black man. That's the two worst things you could apparently be. And just being heterosexual and being straight is apparently being evil. One of the worst things. I'm gonna play a little bit more of this, but yeah, BLM has been the most divisive movement in my lifetime. I've lived 44 years. I haven't seen a movement that's divided the country as much as them.
Some of these countries, right? A Western country more specifically, hey, this is the way you should act. This is the appropriate response, right? Is violence and destruction to destroy the country. Now, again, they say that the racism affects the immigrants, the low income, multi-ethnic neighborhoods in Paris and France and stuff like that. Again, it's the same thing, right? It's the same exact thing, just in Europe, right? Again, this is probably the biggest impact that BLM has had, okay, which is just causing more chaos and destruction. You
And
really hate to
division.
see it. But I guess you could also argue that you hate to see a young teenager lose his life
Yeah.
at the hands of police during a routine traffic stop, which, again,
Yeah.
I don't know if racism was involved. I'm not sure if the cop was trigger happy. He claimed that he shot the kid because he thought that the kid would go and potentially run somebody over with his car. Now, I'm neither here nor there with that. I really don't know what happened. But I just know that the response, this is not the appropriate response, okay? But things are crazy in Europe, man.
And let me chime in. Let me pause real quick. And running from the police is never the appropriate response either. I mean, this should be common sense by now, man. This should be common sense and common knowledge, man. That if you run from the police, bad things could happen. Now, there was an incident in the United States where a older white female cop, instead of pulling out a taser to stop somebody for driving off, she pulled out a gun and instead and accidentally shot him with the gun. Like, that's the thing. Like, your mistakes, your bad decisions could lead to the cop making bad decisions. Like, I don't know why anybody had enough common sense and common knowledge to know by now, if you run from cops, things are more likely not going to end well. And that could go for anybody. That could go for anybody, man. Like, why do people just insist on testing the limits of the cops? Why do they insist on running from the cops? Like, only a guilty person would run from the cops. You can't give me any valid reason why a person who's innocent of any crimes, has done no crimes, would run from the cops. Only a person who had warrants out for him or is guilty would run from the cops. And there's been incidents where cops have pulled people over, and as soon as they start walking to the window, they get shot at. So they're already on high alert all the time because they know there's been incidents of people get pulled over who have warrants or have dope or have something in the car they shouldn't have, and know, or they think they either know or think that the cop's going to find it, so they shoot at the cop and try to kill the cop and dip off. But why? It should be common sense and common knowledge by now that if you run from the police, if you try to dip off from the police, shit could go very wrong. And I don't even need to hear no more. I don't need to see no more. It definitely looks like a war zone out there. I don't know why people think that driving cars into buildings, burning down cars in buildings, stealing merchandise is a solution to getting justice. No, it's just an excuse. To me, it's just an excuse at that point to do all that stuff. It's just an excuse to get away with that stuff and do all that stuff. I can tell you right now, if that was Fayetteville, North Carolina, they'd have brought in the 82nd Airborne. They'd have had the 82nd Airborne out here on the streets. They'd have brought in martial law in Fayetteville. And if that was any city in the United States that was that bad, I'm pretty sure they would have brought in martial law. And I don't know why people make excuses of this being a solution for justice, or, committing more crimes and acts of violence and destruction actually leads to justice, when it just leads to more violence and more destruction. That's all it leads to. And less money being put to the problem and the issue, because now you got to spend more money repairing all the destruction, because I can tell you right now, they're going to do that first. They're going to repair all the buildings that have been destroyed first before they get to the root cause of the problem, So, yeah, man, good luck, France. I don't know what to tell you, but if that shit would have went that hard in a United States city, they would have brought in martial law by then. Once again, I thank you for tuning in, Paul Pickett Podcast, and I'm out.